all done it before. Watched our favorite movies dubbed in Hindi. Even if you didn't, you should really try. Welcome back to FilmShack. Today, we prepared for you top 10 must-watch Hindi dubbed Hollywood movies. Number 10. Apollo 13. Thrilling, heartwarming, scary, and superb. Two-time Oscar winner Tom Hanks plays real-life astronaut hero Jim Lovell in this true story of the Apollo 13 mission to the moon that almost left 3 astronauts stranded in space when an oxygen tank exploded. Mission Control, thousands of miles away from the stranded astronauts, must figure out a way to get the men home in one piece. In addition to the thrilling story, masterful performances, and impeccable technical authenticity, this movie is a heartening story of the triumph of smart guys with slide rules. It should be called Smart and Smarter, a relief in this era of movies about characters who triumph by being dumb. Even though viewers know the Apollo 13 mission turned out alright, even though the technical material is dense and the action is confined to a space smaller than an elevator, the tension is breathtaking as the astronauts and the mission control team in Houston try to think their way back home. Everything from duct tape to the cover of the flight manual to one of the astronauts' socks is used in this pre-MacGyver story, where Mission Control asks simply, "What's good on that ship?" and builds from there. Number 9. Alive. In 1972, a Uruguayan rugby team was on a small plane bound for Chile. While crossing the Andes Mountains, the plane loses control and crashes. The crash splits the plane in two, and as the survivors attempt to come to grips with the situation, they remain convinced that a rescue plane will find them very soon. When they learn through a patched-together radio that the search parties have left them for dead, the survivors must find a way to go on living with hardly any food or enough shelter to survive the brutally cold temperatures. This film pulls no punches in showing the horrors of the actual plane crash and the many ways the survivors respond to the shock. The real takeaway from Alive, however, is not that the survivors were forced to resort to eating the meat from the bodies of their dead companions, although that is the best-known aspect to both the true story and the movie. What really emerges here is a testament to spirituality, willpower, and perseverance in the midst of life or death conditions. The desperate measures they employ to survive are not exploited for cheap or easy sensationalism, but are known to be passionately argued, pro and con, through the prisms of survival, ethical and spiritual concerns, to say nothing of revulsion at the idea itself. Number 8. 2012.
Jackson, जल्दी करो, हमारे पीछे देखो।
When the sun suddenly begins bombarding Earth with a higher neutrino count, heating up the planet's core, it all too quickly leads to massive natural disasters, from earthquakes to tsunamis, and even shifting the North and South poles. A secret project is underway in Tibet to build arks to rescue a certain number of people. But most of the seats have been reserved for the world's richest and most important people, while scientist Adrian Helmsley, Chiwetel Ejiofor, collects data and fights against greed and corruption. Small-time Los Angeles author Jackson Curtis, John Cusack, tries to rescue his ex-wife, Amanda Peet, and their 2 kids to get them to Tibet and secure them seats on one of the arks. But can he do this impossible task in time? Number 7. Dangal.
देखना दिलचस्प होगा कि ये ऊंट किस करवट बैठता है। कस्टमरी हैंडशेक, रेफरी की विसिल।
Dangal, which means wrestling in Hindi, is the passion of Mahavir Singh Bhagat, Amir Khan, a talented amateur wrestler who never won gold for his country, but longs to train his sons to fulfill his dream. When his wife bears daughter after daughter, he adjusts his plan, forcing his preteen girls Geeta, Fatima Sana Shaikh, and Babita, Sanya Malhotra, to train like professional athletes. He cuts their hair off and drags them to compete against boys, humiliating them. The town disapproves, but Bhagat bends to no one, imposing 5 a.m. trainings and work out with a nephew to toughen the girls up. It's not until the girls skip training to attend a wedding that their eyes are open to the fate of most Indian village girls. This is an utterly thrilling sports movie, featuring some of the most compelling fictional sports competition scenes in recent memory. Director-writer Nitish Tiwari creates an unmistakable arc for each character that defies cliché, even as Dangal does in some ways adhere to well-worn story conventions. Number 6. The Dark Knight Rises.
मैंने मदद थोड़ी ना मांगी थी।
वो सड़क छाप गुंडे नहीं थे, मंचे हुए कातिल थे। मैंने तुम्हारी जान बचाई, इसलिए मुझे बताओ कि तुमने ब्रूस वेन की उंगलियों के निशानों का क्या किया।
With their Batman trilogy, Nolan and Bale have revolutionized superhero films from colorful action adventures that even young kids can appreciate to serious meditations on justice and power. The franchise's loyal fans won't be disappointed with this immensely satisfying conclusion to Nolan's epic trilogy. Injured and relatively out of shape, Batman is physically no match for the huge and menacing Bane, with his Hannibal Lecter meets Darth Vader mask and his overpowering physique. Hardy is completely disguised as the amoral assassin, but even rendered unrecognizable, the acclaimed British actor gives a masterful performance in villainy. Bale's always thoughtfully nuanced portrayal is complemented by the addition of two breakout performances: Gordon Levitt, whose character is an ordinary cop with an extraordinary bravery that's pivotal to the story, and Hathaway, who Selena Kyle steals the show with her whip-smart humor and crackling chemistry with Batman. The banter between Bale and Hathaway, who seems to be having a ball in full vixen mode, provides much-needed relief from the story's otherwise overpoweringly grim nature. Visually stunning, incredibly acted, and unyieldingly intense, The Dark Knight Rises is one of the rare movies for which the huge budget, supersized runtime, almost 3 hours, and undying adore of fans is well-deserved. Number 5. The Prestige.
प्रिडिक्टेबल है, बोरिंग है। मतलब मिल्टन सफल है, इसके मायने कुछ भी हो, अब वो डरा हुआ है, वो कोई जोखिम नहीं उठाना चाहता। मेरा मतलब वो दर्शकों की गुडविल जाया कर रहा है।
The Prestige focuses on the competition between magicians Robert Angier, Hugh Jackman, and Alfred Borden, Christian Bale, in turn of the 20th century London. While Cockney-accented Alfred is blunt and focused only on his art, Robert is a lesser magician but a more prodigious and ambitious showman. Though they initially work together, an on-stage accident leads to a conflict and a battle of one-upsmanship for revenge. They compete over losses, tricks, and audiences, each reading the other's stolen journal to decipher his rival's meanings and mechanics. Robert goes so far as to name his version of the Transported Man, Alfred's crowd-pleasing finale, the New Transported Man. Alfred renames his show the Original Transported Man, as the mechanical possibilities for tricks expand and shift. The men are increasingly hard-pressed to keep up. Christopher Nolan's movie is a smart, intriguing tale of deceit and obsession. The Prestige, based on the novel by Christopher Priest, invites viewers to participate, or at least be aware of their participation in its storytelling. The film offers a series of tricks as connected pleasures, but they have less to do with plot twists, which are sometimes obvious, than details of character and performance. Number 4. Inception.
जैसे शरीर में इन्फेक्शन को मार कर भगाया जाता है, वैसे ही वो टूट पड़े।
मतलब ये अब हम पर हमला करेंगे?
नहीं नहीं, हम पर नहीं, सिर्फ तुम पर।
In Inception, Dom Cobb, Leonardo DiCaprio, is a skilled extractor, able to enter people's dreams to find information. A businessman, Ken Watanabe, hires Cobb to plant an idea in the mind of a competitor, even though this may not be possible. Cobb assembles a team, which includes Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Ellen Page, and prepares for the complicated job, which will require creating 3 dreams within dreams. Unfortunately, the subject, Cillian Murphy, has been trained for such invasions, and the job will be far more dangerous than planned. And then there's the fact that Cobb's dead wife, Marion Cotillard, keeps unexpectedly turning up inside the dreams and wreaking havoc of her own. But if the team fails, they could end up trapped in a subconscious limbo forever. Inception is an intense, complex story, but it's always coherent, imaginative, and entertaining. Filmmaker Christopher Nolan has proven himself a master of time juggling. He rarely presents a story in chronological order. He often flips time, or stacks time on top of itself, balancing several simultaneous storylines precariously, but with remarkable clarity. Number 3. Forrest Gump.
मेरी अकेली इकलौती दोस्त। मामा हमेशा बताती कि हर रोज चमत्कार होते हैं। कुछ लोग ऐसा नहीं सोचते, पर वो हो।
Forrest Gump's 2.5 hours run the gamut from humor and charm to tragedy and poignancy. Although epic in length and symbolic in treatment, the movie never loses sight of the intimate love story at its center. The relationship between childlike Forrest, Tom Hanks, and the disillusioned Jenny, Robin Wright, can be seen as an allegory for America's loss of innocence from the 1950s to the 1980s, reflected by pop culture and socio-political events. Rock and roll, the civil rights movement, Vietnam, Watergate, and more touched on, sometimes seriously and sometimes sarcastically. The film is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get, as it serves up an abundance of surprising treats, sometimes sweet and sometimes bitter. Though its strong language, violence, and sexual situations make it questionable for children, Forrest Gump can introduce young viewers to prominent moments in the 20th century. Through the use of Oscar-winning visual effects, Forrest interacts with U.S. presidents, teaches Elvis Presley how to do his famous pelvis dance, and inspires John Lennon to write the song Imagine. Number 2. Schindler's List. Steven Spielberg displays the virtuosity of a great documentary filmmaker. The Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews, political prisoners, Jehovah's Witnesses, and gays were killed, is too vast and atrocious to fathom. So, Spielberg searches history for the one true story that can make it comprehensible. He gives us Czechoslovakian businessman Oskar Schindler, Liam Neeson, a grandiose, insinuating businessman bent on making a successful business on the backs of Jews, who are robbed of their homes, jobs, property, and many, their lives. The film follows Schindler's transformation from greedy war profiteer to humanitarian, who eventually saves the lives of 1,100 people destined for death at Auschwitz. But there are two main characters in this film. If one is Schindler, the other, undoubtedly, is the Holocaust itself. Spielberg gives us the Holocaust and the names of the Schindler Jews, and uses real-life stories to make it real. There are few films more powerful and important than this 1999 winner of Academy Award for Best Picture. But that's not why you should watch this film. Watch it for the brilliant storytelling, great acting, and its message that one person can make a difference in the face of evil. Accurate, heartbreaking masterpiece about the Holocaust is the best way to describe this masterpiece. Number 1. The Shawshank Redemption.
मैं इंतजार करूंगा और हाँ, बोट्स तैयार हैं। रेड, याद है? उम्मीद अच्छी नहीं।
This is a movie that stands the test of time and still resonates with viewers. Call this the Stand By Me of prison stories. Stephen King, who penned Stand By Me, also wrote the short story on which the Shawshank Redemption is based. Here, we have all the things that made Stand By Me such a satisfying experience. Lovable characters, writerly flourishes, one-dimensional evil antagonists, enduring friendships, poetic justice, and a happy ending. This one is far darker and far more violent than Stand By Me, and so ought to be reserved only for older teens. The story is slow to develop, and younger kids and children sensitive to the suffering of others may find this world a difficult one to sit with for the film's duration. Having said all that, the film is satisfying but cloying. Andy is the minister of the healing power of hope. He educates the inmates on the healing power of Mozart. He builds a library. He asks Red why he stopped playing the harmonica. When Red replies that it's no use in prison, Andy looks at him soulfully and replies that, "Here's where you need it the most." Despite the somewhat unbelievable friendship between a white, upper-class banker and an African-American man in 1949, it's a valuable lesson that may seem inspired to kids who haven't heard this story before. We would like to invite you to share your opinion with us. Do you agree with our list? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye!